we've got the armed forces hot on our tail.
Play the theme music. Hello and welcome to this episode of Tripology. I'm Alan and I'm here with the ever surveilled Adam.
I'm glad you went with surveilled and not constipated.
Oh yeah, you've been struggling dietarily.
It's been 4 days, Alan.
That's too long.
It's way too long. You're quite regular.
God, just thanks for noticing.
Yeah, but with a diet in Pakistan, I was hoping that maybe I'd be a little bit more frequent, but it seems to not have been the case. Anyway, I don't really want to talk about that.
I think we were all hoping that. I think that a lot of listeners have been emailing in saying, what's going on with Adam's diet?
Is it famously got sort of low fibre, the Pakistani diet?
Well, I have been, I'm a medical man, not licensed, but I have been concerned.
Yeah.
I did Google today.
It's very... Did you?
Yeah.
Go on.
4-day constipation.
Oh, God. What was the...
The first thing that came up is, should I go to the emergency room if I've been constipated for 4 days? And do you know what? I was pleasantly surprised that the answer given by the online medical community was no.
Oh, great.
You're fine. What you need is to eat more fibre and take a good, strong look at the way you live your life.
It's a good job we added the banana in that smoothie earlier.
Yeah, well, I'm hoping that somewhere in the middle or towards the end of this episode, one half of our medical problems will be solved. We're in a dark room that's, I hate to say it, can only be described as infested with flies, because it's also very beautiful and comfortable, but we unfortunately left the door open.
Yeah, we've left the door open because the vista out the window is spectacular. Again, sorry, the audience won't be able to see this, but have you ever seen a mountain as picturesque as the one out the window?
We're looking now at a Pakistani mountain range. It's one of the more beautiful mountain ranges I've ever seen. And the journey to get here is perhaps what makes the mountains so beautiful, because it was really quite a wild adventure getting here, wasn't it? We left the audience last week in Chitral.
Yeah, it was anything but convenient. So, yeah, that's obviously what we're going to discuss today. And it was like getting back to traveling again, like real traveling, dirty traveling where you have to adapt and take things on the chin and realize that you're going to have to lose 5-6 hours. Yeah,
we really struggled to even get money out in Chitral. I know a lot of people have been asking about that. We finally managed to withdraw some cash from an ATM. It was the last one we chose on the last street. My card didn't work. I actually held the door open going to leave because I was like, F this, Adam. We're screwed. We can't get cash out. We're going to have to write traveller's checks.
Yeah.
But then you put your card in.
Yeah, and luckily was able to get a little bit of money out, and then there was light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
So we rinsed it for everything that it was worth, so much so that there was a gentleman outside he looked a little bit...
The ATM was so light at the end of it, he just picked it up and walked off with it. And
just a couple of rupees left at the bottom.
Yeah, little coins. They don't have coins in Pakistan, do they?
No, I don't think so.
Crikey. So that was our experience. We managed to use that money to plot a path out of Chitral, and we were trying to head to Mazdoush.
Yeah, it's a tiny village up in the north, and we were told that it would be much easier to get all the way to Gilgit, where we have been for the last couple of days, from Mazdouj, and that's where we headed. Little did we know it was all about to go pretty sideways.
Yeah, it was always the intention just to use Mazdoush as a jumping off point to Gilgit.
Yeah.
But getting to Mazdoush proved to be quite a briny experience. Briny in the sense...
Salty.
That we were like sardines.
Yeah. But packed into these little minivans. So there's obviously a number of ways you can travel around any country. Pakistan seems to be quite popular. Motorbikes. Definitely.
Yeah.
Local buses. These little like Toyota Hi-Ace vans that they managed to cram, 16 people in these things.
Totally.
The benches, I think, are good for 2 people.
I think you really comfortably could fit 2 people. Maybe some slightly overweight people could fit in 2 to a seat.
Yeah, with a bag, because people are travelling with sometimes there's boxes of supplies and stuff because they're going through villages that are quite small and maybe logistics is a bit of an issue. So
come to think of it, travelling with a bag is about the same level of convenience as traveling without a bag but being obese.
Is it?
Yeah.
Well,
My bag at the moment's about 11 kilograms.
Right.
Now, if I put on 11 kilograms, I would then have to forgo carrying the bag.
And you think that how you will be sort of inconvenienced and maybe the measures you would need to take in order to accommodate your now obese body would be the same as just having a bag on your back?
Well, I can put my bag on the roof of the minivan.
Yeah.
So there is that.
Oh, so what you're saying is actually less convenient.
Yeah. No, now that I think about
Being
it,
obese is actually worse than carrying a backpack.
that's what I think. I've just formed the opinion now. I think I'd rather have a backpack.
Shitting hell. So anyway, there were no obese people in this bus.
No.
But there were 16 of us in the bus.
16 in what can only be described as a 6-seater.
Yeah. I said to you, didn't I? I did say to you, and I don't ever like letting you know that I'm not enjoying every moment of this trip.
Is that true?
I think so. I think because we always want to have a wonderful time, and of course this means so much to us. It is the first time we feel like we've been really travelling together.
Is there a level of competitiveness when things get rough? Like, I'm still enjoying it, are you? Because I'm an experienced backpacker, and this is the stuff I live for.
Just because I'm not obese, Alan, doesn't mean I'm not having a good time.
Just because I can smell the person next to me wearing off on me because the amount of friction between me and them is palpable doesn't mean I'm not having a beautiful time.
There were so many people in this bus that if it crashed, if it rolled off a hill, I'm pretty sure it would have been actually more safe than a roll cage. Because there would not have been a millimetre that anyone could have moved.
Yeah.
We were wedged.
Heads would have been bouncing like a proverbial pinball machine.
Well, talking about that, there was a kid sitting next to me, and you've got vehicular somnambulism.
Yeah.
Where you go asleep very quickly.
Did I fall asleep?
No, the kid. Do you remember the kid next to me?
Yeah.
His head was bopping up and down. I thought his head was going to ping out the back window.
He looked like he'd been hung.
No, he was.
I've never seen anyone be hung, but I could imagine it with him.
He every pothole, he was just smacking his head on my elbow so hard that it was hurting me, but not waking him up.
To the point where the old man sat to the left of him, looked at him with almost grief.
Yeah,
I thought.
Well, he woke him up and said, "You do know that you're annoying the foreigner next to you." And I was like, "No, I'm fine. I live for this, Alan. I promise you, I'm having a good time.
I'm enjoying it, having a man's head snap on my shoulder blade."
But it was bloody uncomfortable. And then we arrived late that night in Mastouj, and it's a pretty small town. Not too much going on.
Yeah,
don't want to spoil it for anyone, but
well, if you are considering a jaunt around Pakistan, Mastouj, I don't think you'd go there if it wasn't just closer to things that you wanted to see.
Fair enough. Having said that, we did go to a lovely little guest house, cute little cottage.
And classic Pakistani hospitality, because as we were walking to said guest house, we were intercepted.
By a lovely gentleman, young gentleman.
Yeah.
Who showed us to the guest house. Yeah, of course. Yeah, I know where that guest house is. Come on in.
Yeah, he just seemed to know, didn't he? And he became more significant as time went on because really, for all intents and purposes, and I still think this now, he was just a passerby.
Yeah.
Well, but he inserted himself into our lives in such a way that now I think I'm going to stay in touch.
Well, hang on. This village is so small that it wouldn't take long to know everyone, even if you were an outsider. But he grew up there. So I imagine his family, he was talking about his grandmother and his uncle, and they must just know everyone anyway. So I don't think it's really anything to write home about that he knew exactly where the place we were staying was.
He showed us to the guest house, checked us in, and then said, "I want to take you guys around. Let me dash off, and we'll go to the fort together. We'll explore." He took us on a whirlwind tour
through meadows, over little streams. It was beautiful, surrounded by wonderful mountains as the sun was setting.
Yeah, he was an Ismaili Muslim,
right?
And so they believe that this guy, Aga Khan, who's a descendant of the nephew of the Prophet Muhammad, can interpret the Quran in a modern way.
Right.
So maybe like where the Quran is of its time, written,
Yeah.
modern things have come up, like the internet and that sort of thing. So they believe that this guy Aga Khan can say, like, this is what you should do regarding the internet, regarding tobacco products, all that stuff. You can sort of interpret the Quran in a modern way
and apply it to modern day life.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay,
cool. This is a sect of Muslims who believe that he's their spiritual leader.
Right.
So he was telling me all about this as we walked through the town. Really interesting stuff. He was only 19 years old, exceptionally bright kid.
Yeah, wise head on young shoulders.
Very much so. And he was doing magical stuff as we were walking around. At one point, he picked up a blade of grass and tossed it into what appeared to be an empty pond, and about 30 trout started bubbling to the surface and started pecking up the grass that he'd placed within it.
Fair enough.
And he knew where to get everything as well. He would go up to a tree and go, anyone for apples? And then he would like the Fonz hitting a vending machine would tap on the tree, and like the perfect number of apples would fall down.
It drops out, yeah. Oh, he's a sweet kid. And then he took us to a little local restaurant where there was no electricity, by the way. For the last like 4 days, electricity has been quite difficult to come by.
Yeah, off the grid.
And we had a meal, me and you. He didn't eat, he'd already eaten, bless him. But we had it in the complete dark.
I loved that experience.
We were eating by torchlight, weren't we?
It was romantic.
Yeah.
Much to the chagrin of the Ismaili Muslims sat opposite us. But it was good, wasn't it? It was like cavernous.
Mm-hmm.
There was lots of people eating in the restaurant.
Yeah. We were sitting atop a platform and, using a torchlight to see what we were doing and stuff. It was pretty worn and weathered. It almost gave me the sort of feeling that if you turned a car workshop into a restaurant, that's kind of the feel that it would, things were peeling off the walls, and I liked it. It felt very real.
Now, the guy who was showing us around, he said to you at one point, and I hope you don't mind me sharing this with the listening audience, he said to you...
It doesn't sound like I've got much choice, Alan.
Yeah, well, I am the editor. He said to you, is this the first time you've eaten with your hands?
Yes.
I don't think you are used to eating with your hands.
Yeah.
Now, I'll go on record on the pod and say, I think you're very good at eating with your hands.
Yeah.
I've seen you eat with your hands for many months now.
Mm-hmm.
Even things that some people would say you shouldn't eat with your hands. For example, soup, rice pudding, or custard. Now, you replied to him saying...
Yeah, I've eaten with my hands before.
And the reason why you think I'm inexperienced is because I'm actually just greedy.
Yeah.
And I think that's valid because you were scooping with the bread.
Yeah, no, I think the reason he asked me is because he's got preconceived ideas about Westerners and white people. I'm pretty sure the reason he asked me is because he knows that we use cutlery. Not necessarily my technique. However, my technique was unorthodox. It was because instead of just picking up the bread in between sort of your first finger and your middle finger and then your thumb and doing a nice sort of reasonable dip into the choli, chana or the sort of peas and potatoes that we had, I was turning it into what was similar to a little boat. Upturning it and then scooping it along the bottom, trying to get a colossal amount of the filling in one go. So that's why.
Well, that's what I'm getting at, really, because I think he proposed a very prescriptivist attitude towards hand eating.
Right.
And I would like to start a bit of a campaign here on Tripology where we take the best parts of other people's cultures and incorporate them. I think that cultural appropriation can be a beautiful thing. I, for example, eat every meal with chopsticks when I'm at home. Yeah. So I like that you took the best parts of hand eating and you incorporated a more shovelly technique. And I'm a big proponent of it.
It's like innovative.
Yeah.
He was like, oh my goodness, we've never seen this kind of technique.
Yeah. I want to see people eating steak with chopstick and just stabbing the thing and putting it in their mouth. I want to see people using spoons as chopsticks. If maybe you're not used to spoons, you're from an Asian country, take the best parts of our culture. Take a spoon.
Do you know, I've just remembered, right? I've just remembered this right this second. Do you remember when we had one of these chapli kebabs? Yeah. And I ordered a soup which was being eaten actually currently by the people opposite us. We were in Chitral.
What is a chapli kebab?
Chapli kebab looks like a burger. It's basically mincemeat with spices and all this kind of stuff. Absolutely delicious. It just comes as the patty, and then we were eating it with bread.
It's almost melt in the mouth with the crispy outer layer.
It's deep fried in oil, and it's like beef tartare in the middle. But absolutely delicious. We were sitting, again, very local restaurant, surrounded by sort of middle-aged old men. They know what they're talking about, those geezers, don't they? And then they ordered this local soup, which is capers, quite salty. Not anything we'd had before.
Yeah.
And I suffer from FOMO when it comes to food.
Yeah.
We
fear of missing out.
Yeah, we experienced that today,
for
guys,
our boomer audience.
with what might be the worst ice cream I've ever had in my life. But we'll get onto that another time. And then when we ordered the soup, do you remember it arrived? And the gentleman opposite us immediately put his finger in the soup.
How have we not mentioned that on the podcast
I just remembered it then.
Yeah, he literally saw our soup arrive, and by way of checking that our soup was hotter than his, because he was dissatisfied that his soup was cold, he just reached across without making eye contact or asking anything, splashed his finger in as if checking the temperature of a fish tank. And then and then proceeded to ask the waiter to take his away and heat it up.
It was so normalized, his behavior. I felt the way he did it was so sort of nonchalant that I just accepted it. I was like, oh yeah,
we didn't care because he made it so normal. Whereas if that was in the UK, the police would be
You're probably not wrong. I mean, there would have been some sort of altercation that would have broken out, I'm pretty sure.
Imagine now you're at your favourite Italian restaurant in the UK and you order a soup starter. And someone on a table opposite wanders over and splashes their index finger in your soup and then goes back and says, oh, can you make my soup more like theirs? You'd complain.
Or if you're sitting at a bar and the person next to you's got a Negroni, a cocktail, fresh cocktail, and your cocktail's maybe melted a little bit, and you just lean over and whack your finger in their cocktail to see whether theirs is slightly colder than yours. It would be mental. But we just took it on the chin.
And that's what travelling's all about.
We didn't send it back. We ate everything, didn't we?
Yeah. I actually enjoyed the bit that his finger had been in slightly more than the rest of it. You ate around where his finger has been. I was getting tucked in.
It's funny because the first thing you do when we sit down in a restaurant is go to a hand wash and wash your hands, which I think is normal behaviour, especially when you're going to... Go on.
I'm regular. I'm not constipated. So do the maths.
There's a correlation, surely. But because you're going to be eating with your hands. And then that work becomes completely redundant when the person that you've got absolutely no knowledge of in terms of his hygiene and washing hand practices dunks his entire finger in your soup. But you ate it like a hero.
Thank you, man. It was
one of my favourite things you've done on the trip so far.
Yeah. I mean, it was a struggle, but we got through it in the end. And you know what? Culinary experiences have been abound in Pakistan. I've loved the food culture. I've loved sitting with sort of elderly gentlemen eating kebab, it's just been a wonderful experience. And it was nice to share that with that wonderful Ismaili Muslim man, because he was just a great chat, wasn't he? He was a great person to talk to. But things were about to get quite unusual when we returned with him to the hostel. And we'll tell you all about that after...
the med break.
Let's go. Like a finger withdrawing from a caper soup, allow your conscious mind to return into that which is your mind. And we're basically walking with our new friend back to the hostel.
Yeah, it was a lovely walk, again by torchlight because it was pitch black. The sky was exceptional.
Beautiful stars.
Almost too many stars. And there we were. He dropped us off in this garden of the little cottage that we were staying in. We walked in. We knew we were going to go to bed quite early because there was a chance that we were going to get a jeep all the way to Chitral the next morning.
We were told that was a likely situation.
Yeah.
Jeep to Gilgit.
Gilgit, beg your pardon. And then we walked into the garden and there was a gentleman there who we think might have been the owner of the hostel. And it was very normal. He was just having a cup of tea and some food late at night. It was about 8, 9 with a local police officer who was heavily armed.
Which might sound to the listener like perturbing. But we've seen so many automatic Kalashnikovs built in 1947 over the course of our trip.
It would have been weird if he didn't have one, quite frankly.
So in the darkness, by the starlight, we saw, the owner and the AK-47 man, and we sort of went, oh, that's nice. We sat and just watched the stars.
Yeah, they probably just know each other because it's a small town. He's just popped over to say hi. They're having a cup of tea and a bit of food. We stayed with them, watched the sun. Jesus.
Watched the sun come up hours later.
Watched the stars in the sky. And then we kind of just...
We went to bed.
We went to bed.
Went to sleep.
Thought nothing of it. And then we weren't woken up, were we?
Which was disturbing.
Yeah, it was a
because
shame.
we were told we'd be woken up for that Jeep if there was a Jeep to be woken up for.
Yeah.
So when I looked at my watch in the morning and saw that 7:30, 8:30 had been and gone, I knew the Jeep situation probably not going to happen.
Yeah, it was out the window, unfortunately. And then at that point, we knew the day was going to be a little bit more difficult. I wanted to go and pay for our stay on our behalf. So there I was walking around with 2,000 rupees, very reasonable price. Couldn't see the owner anywhere. I thought, should I be cheeky? I know it's early. It's only about 8:39. I'll knock on the door next to me. Maybe this is his room. Opened it. And then the policeman from the night before was in there, fully dressed in his gear with his weapon.
Now, this was when you said to me, do you think he's here for us?
Is there, given what we know about and experience of the last few weeks, is there a chance that he might be here because we're here?
I scoffed. I said, Adam, because sometimes you err on the side of caution or paranoia when it comes to certain things, I think.
Yeah, no, that's true.
I think you err on the side of oh God, this situation could go wrong. I'm a bit more lackadaisical sometimes.
Yeah.
Except when it comes to hand washing.
I snowball for sure.
So I thought, Adam, that's, I'm trying to be a good friend. I'm trying to talk you down. There's no way. He's just a guy with an AK-47, as is wont to be here sometimes. He's here. I could not believe it when we went down the road to try and find a van, escorted by said security guard.
I know. And then it became clear, didn't it? We were kind of looking at each other thinking, hang on a minute, maybe that is really what's going on here.
So, for the listeners who aren't up to speed, the only reason he stayed at that hostel, the only reason he was there the night before, the only reason that man entered into our stratosphere and slept in the room next to us with a loaded weapon was because we were there.
Yeah.
He'd been assigned to us.
I know. It's quite surreal actually going through that sort of stuff.
Because at no point were we told, oh, by the way, guys, nothing to worry about, but one of the things we do here is assign security to foreigners to make sure they're safe.
Yeah.
At no point did he come up to us and say, hey, guys, I'm your security. At no point was any of this mentioned. He just entered into the space that we were living.
Yeah. It was really unusual. No communication whatsoever, which was very strange, obviously, for us. And at what point, is it okay to just kind of assume that? Do you think that they have been told by their seniors that we know, or that we have to assume that is going to be the case because there's been trouble in recent years? I mean, it makes us feel more unsafe in some respects because there's more attention on us. And the whole time we haven't had armed security following us around, which might be 50% at this point, we've been fine. It's been amazing.
Yeah, and you said something really funny and insightful, because we have since learned that this just happens as we move through. We actually know that our details get projected in front of us wherever we go. So every checkpoint that we go through, then
there are many,
actually does send our details to the next place we're likely to go. And we're assigned security in advance, we now know.
Yeah.
So you said the crazy thing about it isn't that we're assigned security in a country that we've been told is incredibly safe.
Yeah.
The crazy thing is that they just come and sit vaguely near us.
Yeah, sort of near, maybe at the same table, don't necessarily start conversation until you do with them. And then it becomes clear through, an order of events, like I needed the toilet and then I was followed to the toilet.
Yeah, and you're like, oh, are you with me?
Are you now my security? And it's like, yeah, I'll be with you the whole time you're here.
Because if you are my security, I'm not going to go to the toilet for 4 days.
Oh, no wonder I'm fucking constipated.
Yeah. It's really, truly wild. I want to stress this. every security guard we've now had,
Yeah.
everyone we've met, everyone we've spoken to has said, really, there's very, very little to be worried about. There's very little tension.
Yeah.
The security is there because of some stuff that happened in the past.
Yeah.
And the stuff that happened in the past, I believe there was some incident a few months ago at the border in a more dangerous region of Pakistan.
Mm-hmm.
And this heightened security is a response to that. But prior to that, there's very little tension.
Yeah.
It really is safe if you stick to the main areas.
And I think we've also met travellers that maybe haven't seen the level of security that we have. I don't necessarily know why that is, and that's also not fact. I mean, it is unfounded, really.
But would you know, though, if you hadn't done the investigation, or that one guy hadn't really revealed it by being like, it's my job to get you on the minivan from Masdouche to Gilgit, maybe they're just not aware that they have security because it passed us by.
Yeah,
I thought Peshawar was an anomaly.
I know.
And it turns out Peshawar was really the tip of the iceberg.
I know. After all that, we couldn't find what we were looking for, which was a direct jeep all the way to Gilgit. So we settled for a little jeep. It was nice, wasn't it? That was going to take us a couple of hours down the road to a little village called Harchin, where we had been told that there would be an option, whether it's through a bus or whether it's through another jeep or whether it's through hitchhiking perhaps. In the afternoon, there would be many more options to get all the way to Gilgit. So we gave it a little go.
I was told that Harchin, in my head, Harchin was like a bustling metropolis of jeeps to Gilgit.
Yeah, like a hub, like a terminus that just had so many options all over the country. Yeah. Islamabad, sure.
No problem.
Yeah.
Go to Harchin and there'll be too many options, if anything.
Yeah, it was a nice drive, wasn't it? My goodness.
Really beautiful drive.
Off-roading through the mountains.
And we developed a sort of friendship, a kinship with our driver.
Yeah, who spoke very good English.
Really good. He dressed a little bit like he was maybe working as a train engineer, sort of a high-brimmed cap. And he was a nice guy, spoke a lot of English, spoke really well. And basically, when we arrived in Harchin, guys, absolute ghost town.
Yeah.
No shop. I mean, one shop open, maybe.
Yeah, there couldn't have been less people.
No.
I mean, we were dropped off at a police checkpoint where we were told that's where maybe the best chance of getting some further transport would be the best place to sort of stop, stick our thumb out, stop all the locals, see if there's anyone going that way. And the the driver of the previous Jeep said, if you can't get any transport, you're more than welcome to come and stay at mine. And I sensed in his voice, he probably knew that it was incredibly unlikely at that time of day because they all leave at 5 a.m.
But he was also the one that told us it was going to be easy to get to Gilgit from Harchin. So it is interesting that he 360s. I was a little bit like, do we just trust that then? Because he's given us two slightly different interpretations of what's going to happen.
Yeah.
I reckon we just try and get there.
Yeah.
I mean, spoiler alert, we couldn't.
Yeah.
Because
we were
there
told
were
mixed things.
No vehicles.
No, we were told mixed things by the people that were there. Some people were making phone calls. Others were saying there was like a 30% chance. Some people say, on any given day there might be an option. Other people were saying it's completely impossible. So we sat there for about an hour and a half, I think it was in the end.
And lo and behold, who would arrive? Who would appear in our peripheral vision?
And not introduce themselves.
But a new armed security guard.
Yeah.
Which is, you sort of, for those of you who are listening who have never had the experience of a security guard apparating into their life like the ghost of Christmas past, it's an amazing experience because they just sort of appear, assign themselves to you at shadow distance, and then don't make conversation. You have to engage them. But this guy turned out to be the homie.
Yeah.
He was our favourite security guard because he was telling us insider information. He was like, I've had your details since this morning. I knew you were coming this way.
Yeah.
I've been preparing myself for it.
Yeah. I'm basically with you for the entire time that you're here.
Yeah.
And we had a little conversation actually the day after, didn't we? We were thinking, I wonder how far we could push the security. Yeah. If we just stayed there for 3 weeks, would we just have the same guard for 3 weeks? Or if we said, right.
In his territory.
Yeah. Or we're going to go swimming in the river at 5 a.m.
Yeah.
You're going to have to come now.
Yeah, because his job, I think, is to protect us, but not obstruct us as tourists. So if we'd said, I really fancy going apricot picking at the top of the mountain, he would just have to become a mountain apricot picker.
Talk about instilling fear as well. There was at one point, he offered to buy us a chai and some biscuits, which was, obviously over and above. He's genuinely a really sweet guy.
Yeah.
And then we sat in this chai shop. Me and you, we both sat on the same bench. And he hadn't come over to the chai shop yet. He wasn't ever that far away. He's always within shooting distance. And then he came over and he asked me to move across the opposite side of the little chai shop. And he sat on the bench next to you, facing the door with his gun pointing out the door.
Yeah.
And you said, I bet he's done that so that he can have an eye on whoever's coming in and protect us. And I thought, I really hate the fact that that's probably true.
Yeah.
And then we confronted him about it.
So why did you do that? Well, it seems unusual that you've chosen. And he went, there's no tension in Pakistan, but if there was tension, I want to be able to shoot and kill the person causing it.
If anyone comes near you and poses a threat, I'm going to blow their fucking head off.
But I was asking a bunch of questions, right? Because he was there. He was obviously assigned to us and he was very willing to talk to us. So I said to him, like, do you have an affinity with your AK-47? Have you had it? Because he's been in the police force for 18 years.
Yeah, it was a very long time.
Do you have an affinity with that weapon? Like, because it must be like your little friend. And he was like, no, I get a new one every single month. And I was like, that's a bit rubbish, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know. I suppose for him, it's just sort of a tool. You hope he doesn't have to use it that often, although he did open up about some of the times he has used it. And
yeah, he's a hunter.
Yeah. I mean, I want to get this across to the listener. It really was like one of your mates had just put on a uniform and was holding an AK-47.
Yeah, he was one of my favourite people I've met in Pakistan.
Yeah.
And we really need to stress,
yeah,
because I think all of this security and all of this stuff paints a picture, and it's an accurate picture, and it's our experience.
Yeah.
But Pakistan, still, we've been here for how many weeks now? 2 and a bit.
Just over 2, yeah.
I mean, it's been one of my favourite countries ever.
Yeah.
And that's because of the way we've been treated by the people here.
I know. It really has been extraordinary.
And I think that the story we're about to go into is the ultimate exemplification of that generosity, kindness, and beauty of his experience. Because we couldn't get from Harchin to Gilgit that night.
Yeah,
so we did call the driver who just took us, he's just our driver from Mazdouj to Harchin.
Yeah.
He met us for an hour in the car on the way.
Yeah. And he did say, you're more than welcome. As I said in the front half of the episode, he said, you're more than welcome to stay at mine. And because of the way that things turned out, we didn't really want to concede, but we just had to sort of surrender and realise that it was actually our best option and put our trust back in him, I suppose. He turned up, 20, 30 minutes later in the whisked us away in his Jeep with said armed security guard.
So now he's just with us. So anyone who wants to show us generosity and hospitality has to invite also an armed security guard into their home.
That has to have been a conversation between them, right?
I almost got the impression it was just like, yeah, that's what happens. If you invite foreigners into your home, you best believe there's going to be security.
Yeah. God.
But what ensued was 10 hours of the most amazing kindness that makes me want to estow the virtues of Pakistan for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
He took us into our home.
Yeah.
He fed us an amazing homemade meal.
Yeah.
He took us on a drive around his beautiful village.
Yeah, it really is exceptional. Obviously, the family there are well liked. He grew up there. He lives in the same house that his father lived in. I think his grandfather was there as well. So there's like 10 of them, generations living in the same house. You can tell that when we were walking around the village, probably an hour and a half, 2 hours, walking through the meadows, kids saying hello to him, he was saying hello to everyone, wasn't he? Clearly very well liked, well respected, well connected. And you can't pay for stuff like that.
Yeah.
There's no tour, I think. And maybe the fact that it was just out the kindness of his own heart. He did say to us, do not stay in a guest house. If you have to stay here one night,
please stay with me.
Please come back to mine. So we had our own room and we were given like fresh fruit. We had such amazing food. I had honestly, maybe the best butter of my life, which was
from his cow.
From his cow. He's got 2 cows. They're on double time. Bless them.
Butter from the cows, cheese from the cows. We had
custard from the cows.
Mm-hmm.
No, I absolutely loved it. And it really was the reason why I travel.
He couldn't do enough for us. He was like showing us his village with so much pride, beautiful place, showed us the power station where the village gets his power, showed us where the school's going to be built. He was like just attending to every one of our needs, set us up with some beds. He like did all the bedding, made an alarm on his phone, woke us up in the morning, gave us breakfast and drove us to where we needed to get the bus at 4 a.m.
Yeah, 4 a.m, 5 a.m. we were already there. He was organising our tickets for us and this kind of stuff. I mean, the fact that he just did that because he wanted to make sure that we sort of got on our way and to maybe give us a good time, to show his sort of generosity, his hospitality. It was truly exceptional. And I will remember that experience and him forever.
And maybe let's round out the episode by just saying we love to travel and we love it when things like that happen when we travel.
Yeah.
But we could have fucked up that experience many times and kind of tried to. Because like we really dug our heels in. We were trying to get to Gilgit that night. And we could have paid for a private jeep for a lot of money and got there. We could have dug our...
Yeah, it would have been 50,000 rupees, which is an incredible amount of money.
A couple of $100.
Yeah.
And then we also, like, he offered us to come and we treated him with some skepticism, I guess, because he had originally told us that Hartsham was a bit of a hub. It proved not to be. Then he was trying to invite us around. We were a little bit like, we're going to try and get to Gilgit. We've committed to a plan. So we originally, said no.
Yeah.
And it was only because we were in a bit of a tight spot that we ended up at his place and had an amazing experience. And that's not to say, me and you are pretty open people. We normally say yes to stuff.
Yeah.
But it's just reinforced for me that often we're trained not to see kindness and generosity at face value.
Yeah.
When was the last time you, the person listening to this, didn't let someone do you a favour?
Yeah, do you know, I wonder if that is that a Western thing?
I think so.
You think it is a Western thing? It's like a nuance of our culture. It's that we can't possibly believe that someone is just doing something out of the kindness of their own heart.
What is the catch?
Yeah,
why are you going to have us around at your house? Cook 3 meals, make bedding. It's a complete inconvenience for you. Are you just doing it because you want to be kind?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that is just it. You're our guest. We've heard that hundreds of times since we've been in Pakistan. And I don't know whether he felt like he had done us wrong by there not being an option, but it was an incredibly cheap way to travel to get there. And then to just be allowed into his home and for him to treat us like family, really, was extraordinary. It was really the best experience I've had in a very, very long time.
Yeah. So our thanks extend to the man who did that and to his family who helped us out so much. And maybe the best way to honour his generosity and kindness is to just say to the audience, pay it forward on our behalf. We're going to pay it forward on our own behalf. Let's all be a little kinder to one another, because my goodness, it can make someone's day. It made our day. It might honestly have made this whole trip. It was like so kind and beautiful that I will be raving about the generosity and kindness of the people in this country for a long time.
Yeah,
it's been one of my favourite countries to visit ever. I've never been treated as well by a population at large.
Yeah. I mean, certainly, like I've said on previous episodes, it's the frequency with which it happens, the level of interest, the sincerity, that kind of thing. I'm not going to say it restores my faith in humanity or something sort of dramatic like that, but it does really make you, on a very deep level, want to reciprocate it. And just sort of breed that sort of stuff into the travel community, doesn't it? Because that's how this is going to continue to exist, I think.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree, man. And I think that's a beautiful place to round out the episode. Just a bit of housekeeping. If you want to share a story or any questions about our story, it's tripologypodcast@gmail.com.
Woohoo!
And we have a Patreon where not only do we add a little bit of extra content at the end of the episode, but the episodes also come out 24 hours early over there. It's
pretty good.
Patreon.com/tripologypodcast. I tell you what, we got on that bus at Hartsham all the way to Gilgit, and that is a story in and of itself. We'll tell that next week. We're carrying on zooming around Pakistan. It's a hell of a time, but for now, we'll see you next week.
See you there.
Bye.